I used to think the internet had limits, that eventually, if you dug deep enough, you'd hit a wall, some dead server, some forgotten archive, some place where humanity simply ran out of things to hide. I was wrong. A few years ago, I became obsessed with the deep web, not for drugs or hitmen or any of the nonsense people talk about online. I wanted secrets, real secrets. I wanted to know if there were things hidden from ordinary people. So I spent months learning encryption methods, bypass techniques, and chasing fragments of information buried inside dead forums and abandoned websites. Eventually, I found references to a place that didn't officially exist. There was no name for it, no address, just whispers. Some people claimed it was a government archive. Others said it was an artificial intelligence that had become self-aware and hid itself from the world. A few people believed it was something much older than the internet itself. Every single person who mentioned it ended their posts the same way. If you find it, leave immediately. Of course, I ignored the warnings. The path to it was exhausting. It took weeks of solving bizarre riddles, following broken links, and deciphering messages written in languages I couldn't identify. Eventually, I reached a completely blank web page. There was nothing on it except one sentence in Latin and an empty text box beneath it. Quid quaeris? What do you seek? At first, I thought it was a joke. I typed truth. Nothing happened. I typed knowledge. Still nothing. I tried dozens of answers, and each one failed. Then, for reasons I still don't understand, I typed, "What also seeks me?" The page went black. Completely black. I sat there for nearly 5 minutes staring at my own reflection in the monitor. Then the screen changed. A list of links appeared against a yellow-brown background. They weren't words. They weren't numbers. They looked like symbols from another language entirely. I clicked the first link and found a live feed from the Paris catacombs. The next showed armed men chasing something in an abandoned house, something that looked vaguely human but moved like an insect. Then came documents. Thousands of them. Files detailing human experiments, unexplained disappearances, impossible creatures, strange events hidden from public knowledge, and contingency plans for disasters I had never imagined. The deeper I went, the worse it became. Hours passed. I forgot to eat, forgot to sleep. I became completely consumed by what I was seeing. There were videos that looked too real to be fake and documents that carried official government seals. I found reports describing things living beneath the ocean, journals from people who vanished decades ago, and recordings of events that should have been impossible. One file referenced a weapon capable of destroying civilization several hundred times over. Another detailed an entire town that disappeared overnight in the 1970s. There was a video titled, "The Futility of the Living That I Never Opened," because, for the first time that night, I felt genuine fear. Not fear of a person or a monster, but fear that the world I knew was only a tiny piece of something much larger and infinitely darker. At some point, I passed out from exhaustion. When I woke up on the floor hours later, my monitor was playing a looping video of a massive creature destroying an island while military helicopters circled overhead. I closed it immediately. Then I noticed something in the corner of the page that hadn't been there before. A single question written in Latin. "Are you satisfied?" Beneath it were 2 buttons. Yes or no. Every instinct I had told me to click yes and walk away forever. Instead, I clicked no. To this day, I don't know why. Maybe curiosity is a disease. Maybe whatever existed behind that website wanted me to continue. The page refreshed, and now there were only 4 links left. They were stranger than the others. The symbols looked wrong somehow, almost painful to look at. I clicked the first one. I lasted 20 seconds before slamming my laptop shut. I can't tell you what I saw because I genuinely don't understand it. There were shapes, but they weren't shapes. Colors that don't exist. Movement that seemed to happen in directions our minds aren't supposed to perceive. It felt like looking through a crack in reality itself. My head started pounding immediately, and I could barely breathe. I left my room and decided I needed air. I was putting on my jacket when someone knocked on my front door. The knocking continued for nearly a minute before a calm voice spoke from the other side. "Open the door. We know what you did. We're not here to hurt you." Every part of me wanted to run, but instead I opened it. Two men stood outside. Both wore black suits and both smiled in a way that felt strangely reassuring. They came inside and sat on my couch as though they'd been invited. One of them asked me what I had been looking for. I told him the truth. I didn't know. I had only been curious. They exchanged a glance. Then the second man asked who I worked for. I told him nobody. He stared at me for a long time before finally nodding. They explained that they weren't worried about me telling anyone because nobody would believe my story anyway. Then they asked for one thing, the laptop I had used to access the site. I practically ran upstairs and handed it over without hesitation. As they stood to leave, one of them turned and smiled again. "There are places you aren't meant to see," he said. "For your own sake, don't try to find them again. And don't teach anyone else how to get there. We'll know." It's been a week since then. I haven't touched the deep web. Honestly, I barely use the internet anymore. I thought giving up my laptop would end everything, but it didn't. Every night I have the same nightmare. I'm sitting in front of my computer again. The blank page appears. The words "what do you seek" slowly change into something else. This time the question reads, "Why did you leave?" Then the symbols begin appearing one by one until they cover the entire screen. I wake up drenched in sweat every single night. I've started seeing a therapist, but I haven't told him the truth. I simply say I've been having nightmares. How do you explain something like this without sounding insane? The worst part isn't the dreams. It's the feeling that something followed me back. Sometimes when I walk past a dark room in my house, I have the strange sensation that someone is standing inside watching me. Last night, I woke up at exactly 3:17 in the morning. My bedroom was completely dark except for the glow of my phone charging beside the bed. I noticed I had a new notification. There was no sender, no number, just a single message. It contained 4 symbols, the same symbols from those final 4 links. Beneath them was one sentence: "We are not done with you." I deleted the message immediately, but when I checked my phone again, it was still there. I turned the device off and sat awake until sunrise. I don't know who those men were. I don't know what that place really is. And I definitely don't know how it found me again. But I do know one thing. If you ever stumble upon a blank page asking what you seek, close the browser immediately. Because curiosity might open a door that was never meant to be opened. And once something on the other side notices you, I don't think it ever truly lets you leave.